Hey, good evening. Well, I'm doing another meander, I guess. Some people like them, and other people don't know about them because every time they see me say meander, they don't click on the video. Okay, but I wanted to talk. Many people who are going to come to the Philippines are going to be maybe not in my age bracket because let's face it, I'm older than anybody else. It feels like older than anybody else in the world. But anyway, I'm getting on there, okay? And my memories are of a different kind to what people are going to be growing up with right now. And I'm saddened by that because today, Beth and I, and with Glycer, we went in support of Mia. And Mia is one of our students, and she is taking what, surprisingly for me, is a very difficult course, and that's nursing. And it's difficult for an obvious reason once you realise. There's apparently a lot of textbook learning which has to be memorized, and it has to be there available in the mind. So it's a very tough course, and you have to be, these are all great surprises to me. I hadn't really thought about nurses doing a huge amount of study, but I had a surprise, and I'm seeing that I was wrong on that. Well, we went to I think it's called the Mata D University today, or college, in Tubigon, which is about an hour's drive from where we are. And we went in support of Mia. Her parents were unable to go, and so it turns out that we were substitute parents, substitute mom and dad, which is fine by me. And we went there, and if you've looked at Facebook and seen some of the stills that we showed, you will know what I'm talking about. And anyway, I'm sure that by now Beth will have posted the videos of what happened at that ceremony. Well, surprisingly, it was steeped in history, and because let me see, Florence Nightingale, who in my recollection was regarded as being the pioneer of the nursing group, and she was symbolized as a lady that late at night, when the soldiers who were healing from wounds in the war, I think First World War, of course, well, she used to go around and she used to have one of those little genie lamps. It looks like the genie. They don't seem to have that story here in the Philippines. So when I took this little imitation lamp from Mia, I gave it a rub like this and said, it doesn't work. She didn't really know the story. But anyway, they have a candle placed in this little lamp, and it is to symbolize the image, the stereotypical image of Florence Nightingale as she wandered through the wards, giving a quiet word of comfort to wounded soldiers, many of course who would not make it. Well, that's what they did today, and they called it the capping badge and candle ceremony. And they all had a candle. They were called out. They received the little lantern, a little tiny thing about this big, and a candle, and it was lit. And then they received their cap, which the teachers were there on the sideline to fix the cap to a bun, which they were all wearing their hair tightly back into a bun. And the reason for that, I realized later, was that the hat would sit most comfortably on that little bun at the back. And once they'd done that, they did a circuit to get back to their seat, and there were several hundred of them who were going through this ceremony and receiving their cap. Well, I'm assuming that it was the same as for Mia, and she was completing 2 years of nursing training, and she has another 2 years to go. So we were very proud of her, and we watched that with great interest and took some photographs, and I put some pictures on Facebook, so you will know about that. Now, the reason that I've sort of digressed onto that, not that there has to be a reason, because digressing is what I do best, was that so often the majority of these people were women, young women in their 18 to 20s, around that age. I think that Mia is 20, I'm not quite sure. Well, it was a scene of incredible importance to me, because it more symbolized the Filipina, the Filipino woman, the best of all, because Filipinas are known to be very caring and very loving. When I first came to the Philippines this time, and I was living in Basac, Beth and I were going through jumping through all the hoops to get married, and while she was still working at that time, in the very early beginning, in the weeks, and we had this little apartment in Basac, which is the ghetto, and this was quite a culture shock for me. But anyway, I used to walk down to McDonald's for my health food, and along the way I would learn a little bit about what Philippine life was really about. But during that time, online I learned that a survey had just been done, and when they surveyed people of the Philippines, it was found that by and large, people, not talking about whether they were satisfied with their life, but they were happy. Now, I know expats that have criticised this. Yeah, well, that's because they're stupid. You know, they're happy in their slavery. Well, no, that's really not what it's about. Filipinas and Filipinos, men, have the ability to take their lot, whatever it is, and to make the best of it. And this is something that expats really need to learn. The Filipino nation, the people of the Philippines, are not all about the horror stories that you see online. I see terrible horror stories. I had a few of my own. Okay, so when I came here, before I ever met Beth, I had a few horror stories where I was taken for money, not with any caring or no love attached, or nothing about that. I was taken for the help that I could give monetarily, and I have no regrets about that. In one particular case, I helped a kid, a little girl that was was the child of this woman, and she needed to have the steel pin taken out of her leg. It was time, and it was going to cost a few thousand, and I was happy to give that. So I don't look at all of those times bitterly at all. There were times and periods when I was able to help and able to give, and that's what we should all do. But the idea that Filipinos are happy, not just satisfied with their lot, but are able to be happy in spite of whatever deprivation that they have. And boy, have we seen this in such a huge way. We've seen it when we've been to after Odette last year, we went to several of the smaller islands. Knocknocken was one island that we went to, Bannockon, and a couple of others that I can't remember well enough to pronounce, okay? And when we went there, the devastation was just beyond, it was beyond description from me. And people were still able to joke. They were still able to smile. They were still able to say hello. And they were still able to say thank you for coming. And the children who didn't have anything before Odette, and now they probably didn't even have a home. People were living in bits of rescued corrugated iron put together and underneath, and that at that moment was home. They were able to get by that. When we later went to another high tide area, now here, where, because there's a lot of mangroves, there's a lot of mangroves, and those areas where the mangroves are not to be disturbed. They're protected. But in between those and close to the shore, you have these small villages or barangays. And when you get something like Odette come through, then you get high tide, you get a lot of water, and the wind is incredible. The wind destroyed our home, so we know very well about what that does. But when I was there, because I'm no magician when it comes to entertaining children, they entertain themselves, and what they gravitate towards is the foreigner, because they haven't interacted with a foreigner. They've never spoken to a foreigner. They come up and they just want to look at the foreigner. That's all they're looking. They can't easily process it. And so when you smile and when you make a funny face, not a great funny face, it's not a great clown act, but one of the things that Filipinos do, and all the children do this, is the open mouth. It's almost like saying what, or hey, I'm surprised. They go, and they open the mouth like that. And if it gets more severe, they go, and so when children came up and were looking at me, I would go, and they would find that very funny. The other thing is that I managed to learn enough to be able to somehow communicate with kids, because I wasn't involved in the feeding, because we had our student volunteers. We have Johnny, who is the guy, if you want to have a lechon, a roast pig cut up, John will bring along his machete or bolo, and he will do the job. So I'm a little bit I'm just spare, right? So naturally the kids end up coming and talking to me. When we went to Bannockon once, they brought me a chair, and I sat the chair against the wall of the municipal hall, and in no time I had a circle around me of children who are all talking, and we had an agreement. I talked in English and they talked in Visayan, and somehow we all got through. But these kids are resilient. It's like they're bomb-proof. They're indestructible. And I remember one particular time that I was waiting for Beth in the truck, and we built 5 houses in this particular place, what used to be Menzies community. And Menzie, we'd already built a house for her because her house was in terrible shape, and we built a house in a slightly distance barangay from where this barangay was. And I remember that about I don't know, it could have been 5 or 10 children, came up and stood on the running board at my open window and were laughing and talking to me. And I knew when I was beat, so I reached in my pocket and I found as many coins as I possibly could, and I guess I found maybe 100 pesos. We're talking about $2, okay? It doesn't make me run, Mr. Buffett, okay? So I worked out how many. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, okay? And I gave them the money. And so they were able, what would happen in this case is that they would take that money down and they'd put it on the counter of the sari-sari store. And the lady at the sari-sari store would count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then she'd look at the money. It's 100. If we divide that by 7 or 10, then you get 10 pesos each. And I thought I'd seen the last of them. But after about 5 or 6 minutes, they all came back to thank me, which I found a particularly touching thing. So there is a resilience here in the Philippines from which, if you're a foreigner and you're coming, if you come with the mindset that you are going to teach everybody your skill, I would suggest you put that on the shelf for a month or so. Okay, this was my perhaps brutal suggestion. Is I wish in a way when I came I had shut my mouth and opened my eyes wide and opened my ears wide and simply watched. I did that for most of the time because the way that circumstances were, I didn't get much chance to do anything else. But I did that. And in that month, I learned a great deal about how things work in the Philippines. And I suggest that anybody coming here should do that. Don't give a load of advice, just wait and see. Have a look at how it can work. On a couple of occasions where I thought that I should stand up and teach them, hey, you can't let people just butt into the queue, there's such a thing as a queue, a line for you Americans, okay? They get in line. And then I'd find out that there was a reason why they went to the front. And I very quickly resolved that I wouldn't do that again. And I watched other expats do the same thing, call out loudly if someone seemed to be getting in front. These are things which it's better to wait and see and look at how things are done. So I hope that in looking at the way that I've seen things just today, to see all of those young people, young men and young women, they're almost in the prime of their childhood, later childhood, and they've all done a terrific amount of study, and they've all got their uniform on, and they receive their cap, and it's a momentous time. Now, contrast that with whatever stories that you may have heard, that Filipinos are this and Filipinas are that, and look again and try to see that maybe the Philippines that you have been looking at is not the Philippines at all. I know that when the pandemic was on full board, we took advantage of that and we went to a couple of very, very posh, expensive resorts that would be way above anything that we could ever have. I've got a moth that's flying around. And we went there and we got a terrific deal. Fortunately, they recognized who we were, that we were bloggers, and that we've been, like, Filipinos at grassroots level know us. It's not that we're any great famous thing, but we often get a Filipino saying, thank you for helping poor Filipinos. So in a very, very small way, we might be recognized. And the lady, the young woman on the desk, gave us a marvelous break. And we had one of my birthdays there. Now, the Philippines that I saw when I went to one of those very posh resorts is not the Philippines. It's not the Philippines I know. It's another Philippines. It's a Philippines of cocktails and parties on the beach and walking with a white sand between your toes and holding your finger up like this or like this so you can see it. Can you come? We need another 2 drinks here. Same again. That's not the Philippines. You need to go to the province to see the Philippines. Nor is the Philippines in crowded cities for my money. It's not the Philippines. It's not Filipinos struggling from time to time. That's not the Filipinos. Yesterday, when we knew that we were going to be in support of Mia, Beth had something that was important to be done, and yet she asked me, would I go to El Taurus and buy her a dress? So normally, if I'd been given that task in America or in in Australia or in the UK, I would have said, no, I can't do it. I am actually quite reserved, so I don't really enjoy going in and saying, would this fit or is that? But because it's the El Taurus, and because I know that the women that serve in there are so incredibly helpful. I went in and I spoke to a small group of sales staff, all women who are sitting there, and I said, I need a sales lady who is 52 kilos in weight and about so high. So 52 kilos, sir. Right, just a minute. And then off they go, and I drag along with them, and finally I get 2 ladies who have come to help me. It's incredible the way that it goes. And the smaller one of the 2, the other one was much too tall for Beth, but the other one was closer to there. And she said, oh, I weigh 51 kilos. So we go through all of the dresses. They treat me like a king. It was amazing. And they find this dress and that. What about this dress and what about that? And listen to what I have to say. And finally, we choose a dress. And I say, I like that, but do you think it will fit her? And so the smaller one of the 2 ladies takes the dress and puts it over her uniform. So she says, how do you like it? And I did. So I said, I'll have that dress, but just in case, I'll have another one. We're only talking about dresses which are 500 or 600 pesos, okay? So we find another dress, and she tries that one on too. And this is the kind of friendliness that you find here. I mean, I have never found that anywhere else that I've been. I've been all over Europe. I've been to France, Germany, Spain. I've been to Africa. I've been to, certainly I've been all over England because I was a touring musician and went practically every city in England, not Ireland, but England, Wales, Scotland. We did all of the thing. And I've never, and quite a lot of America too, Florida and California. I've been to Texas. I've been to a lot of Colorado. I've been to a lot of different places, and I've never found people who are so friendly and so willing to help you. So, when you see the horror stories, when people write to me and ask me, can you advise me on coming out to live in the Philippines? I give them my keep your mouth shut advice. I tell them that they should find a place in the Philippines that they think that they would love to live there. And then they should look for someone in that area. And if they're looking for a partner, they should go to that area and look there. There's no point in taking a liking to someone who lives in Luzon when you're looking at settling in Bohol, because it's going to be a hard sell. The thing is, if you find the place you like and then find a lady in that place, then you will find someone who, if you go and live there, they are in close contact with their family, and that will work for them. That will be a happy wife. Okay, I can see that I've been waffling on for quite a while, so I'll let you go if you're still here, but then I'm an optimist. Bye for now.